Alrighty, so came to the park. Don't want to waste time. Time is what life is made out of. And love is what makes it worthwhile. But I don't want to be wasting time. So I wanted to talk about the epidemic of fat and the mechanisms, the means that people are attempting to cure this problem. And that might be you. But whoever it is, exercise is important. I'm an exercise guy. But exercise is not about losing fat. It's about using fat as an investment to achieve fitness. Exercise is about fitness. Nutrition is about health and, frankly, fat loss. Why did you get fat? You didn't exercise enough? No. You ate incorrectly. You caused your system to dysregulate itself so that you're storing fat and you're not using it. And then it becomes a vicious cycle where you're more inclined to store fat. And I won't go into that now. But you hear, it's like the TV show Biggest Loser. Yeah, Biggest Loser. I saw it a couple of times. And those poor people, they're using completely incorrect methodology. You cannot outrun a bad diet. You can starve yourself and torment yourself, and you can get a better hormonal profile with exercise, but exercise didn't cause the problem, and exercise is not the cure for the problem. Stop doing that destructive thing. That's going to be the cure. And the destructive thing is almost always bad carbs. What are bad carbs? Well, you notice how I say bad carbs. People say, oh, I'm trying to cut down on carbs. I don't want that. I want you to not cut down, but build up, to mount up your carbs. Use a lot of carbs. Understanding that carbs is just another way of saying plant materials. Now, there are good and bad. And so when I say carbs, I'm usually not going to be biased toward they're bad. I'm going to be biased toward they're good, except people are not going to understand it that way. So bad carbs and good carbs. Bad carbs, any of the sweetie, sugary, powdery, any of the processed carbs, all of those products in boxes, bags, and cans, not even food. I can't say your grandmother, but your great-great-grandmother wouldn't have recognized it as food, or great-great-great-grandmother would not have recognized it as food. And here we are trying to think we're getting health, nutrition out of that. Well, we become addicts. And it's like cigarettes. They did manipulate the nicotine content to make it more addictive, and got sued and whatever the lawsuit, however that worked out. Same thing with fast food. Same thing with these products, these snacks. I'll tell you that snacks have not always been a thing. I make allusions to it. Sometimes I talk about it, but I am a pretty old guy. And I remember when there were no snacks. And it wasn't just my family. It was in the culture, in the society. Snacks they were a thing, but they were a treat. And you don't have a treat every day. So when I was a kid, I grew up in Hollywood. And there was a McDonald's over, 3 miles away. And there was a Pioneer Chicken, and there were a few other fast food places. You had to drive over the hill to find der Wiener Schnitzel. Fast food was not what it is now. And it's the same with snacks. You might have a bag of potato chips in the house. You didn't eat it all at once. Now, this is not my family. This is the culture. And it has changed. And in that culture that has changed, what chance do you have? I mean, honestly, how can you succeed? It's like being an addict and everybody around you is an addict. And, you try to get serious. That dog just saw me. But you can't, because they're undermining you. And it's not they who are doing it. It's commercials, and it's the prevalence. The bit of wisdom is, look, if you have an alcohol problem, you don't go walking by the bar. You cross the street, or you use another street. You do not subject yourself to it. And yet, you got a weight issue. And it's not like you're like a jonesing addict, but temptation is always there. And how do you fight temptation? Well, you avoid it. You don't fight it, you avoid it. That's a very simple, but it does work. All right, so you're the guy, and you're going to exercise, or the gal, sorry. And you're going to exercise your way out of a bad diet. So you're going to run an hour every day for 6 days a week, and you run for an hour. And the monitors, they're not really accurate, but they're ballpark. And you burn 600 calories for that running. Wow, that's really good. You run 600 calories. Well, how many cookies is that? Is it 2 or 3 big cookies? How many donuts is that? Is it 1? I don't even know how many. Is it a big bagel, 1 or 2 bagels? That's nothing. And you worked an hour. Now, if you worked as a career an hour for a bagel, you would not like that so much. It's a very, very bad deal. So if you run 600 for 600 calories an hour, say, for 6 days, that's 6 hours of running, and guess how many pounds of fat you will have burned? How many calories you would have burned? Well, you burned 3,600. That's a pound of fat. The exercise it took burned about a pound of fat for 6 hours. That is a very, very bad deal. Now, the math is a little more complicated than that, but we don't have to worry about that. Ballpark is fine. People do lose fat when they start to exercise. And generally speaking, it's not the exercise. It's the fact that after exercise you're burning fat. And all day long, if you don't mess yourself up or by spiking your insulin with some kind of bad carb or bad food, your insulin is lower. Exercise did that. It lowered your insulin levels. And now you're going to be burning fat. It's going to be coming out of your trapped fat cells, going to your muscles and being used as energy. So the benefit is multiplied if you do not eat in a way that spikes your insulin directly after exercise. This is really important. And you know what people do. Maybe you don't, but as soon as they're done exercising, what do? Oh man. Listen to this. An energy drink? Really? You've got a weight issue and you're going to be drinking an energy drink? What's another word for energy drink? It's a sugar drink. Did you need that? Is that good for you? Does that make sense? There are people who eat 4, 5, 6, drink sodas a day. You don't have a chance. You just don't have a chance. You're never, ever, ever, ever going to achieve that goal with that practice. So I can't understand why my foot is always sore, and then you're pounding your foot with a hammer. I don't understand why it's happening, but you keep on doing it. It's like the guy who goes, the doctor, I think my wife thinks she's a chicken. Oh, well, I'll cure that. Oh, well, we want the eggs, whatever the joke is. Stop doing the crazy things. Doctor, whenever I do this, it hurts. Doctor says, stop doing that. Bad jokes. The point is exercise isn't going to do it unless you do it exactly right. And in any case, you're using the wrong tool to get that job done. The tool of exercise is for fitness. And you can use pliers to pound a nail. And you got the job done. Just isn't efficient, not effective. Could have been done much better, much easier, in a better way, neater, with more craftsmanship. That's what exercise is for fat loss. You do, but it's not the tool for the job. What is the tool for the job? Diet. And I'm using diet in this case. Usually I say nutrition, but this is diet. The way koala bears have a diet, eucalyptus leaves, the way panda bears have a diet, bamboo shoots. You have a diet. And that habitual practice that you have, it's going to give you the results that you have. So to modify your habits, you'll get the result that you're looking for. So, okay, specifically, there are more than ever, really, there are super fad diets. You've heard probably maybe my opinion about keto, so-called. I have nothing but disrespect for it because it's a malnutrition diet. And you cut out the bad carbs, you're going to lose fat. Yeah, it works. Yeah, it works because you cut out a poison. But how about the wood chip diet? You'd get not dissimilar results. Basically, you're fasting the bad carbs, and to stop taking the poison, and you're going to get a benefit. You're still taking other poisons, but they weren't operating at the same level. Now they get a chance to do their operations, but people's numbers, their cholesterol, they just get better when you cut out the bad carbs. But here I am, this freaky vegetarian, and I'm saying don't eat carbs. Those carbs, there's no conflict here. We completely agree. The sloppiness of thinking that because you took out the poison, therefore the stuff that you are eating is good. Really, that's the logic. You can figure that out for yourself. You cut out the poison and then don't have all the fat and all the bacon and all the, whatever it is that you can manage. Yeah, I get to eat all the ice cream I want. Okay, go ahead, have all the ice cream you want, but how much nutrition is there in terms of comparison ratio of nutrients to calories? And the answer is a lot of calories and not a lot of nutrition. Another way of saying that is malnutrition. Malnutrition. If you're not getting the nutrients you need, that's malnutrition. Not nutritious, malnutrition. Wordplay, it works. So you're looking to lose the fat. And I did not say burn the fat, because you don't burn the money in your wallet. Oh, I got too much money in my wallet, I want to burn it. I got too much fat in myself, I want to burn it. No, you want to invest it. That's an important point. It's honoring to your body, and it's highly logical. Okay, so bad carbs. Any of the powders, any of the supposed white foods, I don't mean onions and garlic, I mean white flour, white bread, white rice, the bagely, donut-y kind of stuff, it's all white flour. There's no nutrition there. It's just carbs. What's another way of saying carb? In this case, bad carb? Sugar. They're just eating sugar. The story is, in terms of glycemic index, X number of grams of white bread is a direct counterpart, a 1-for-1 ratio with a bowl full of sugar. That many grams of sugar, that many grams of white bread. Your body doesn't recognize a difference. It takes that starch and breaks it down. Starch is just glucose arranged in a pattern. Rather than a free-floating, it's in a chain, but it's very easy to break apart, and it's just glucose. Why are you eating? If you're going to eat sugar, that's the form you're going to take it in? Wouldn't you want to have a candy bar or something? It's tastier, it's meant to be. Bread is a calorie delivery system. White bread certainly is. It's like, what is coffee? Coffee is a caffeine delivery system. What is a cigarette? It's a nicotine delivery system. What is a beer? It's an alcohol delivery system. What is a hypodermic needle? It's a heroin delivery system. Well, what is white bread? It's a sugar delivery. It's a bad carb delivery system. So don't do that. Even worse is the soda. And it's not, it used to be glucose, sucrose, and they switched it over to high fructose corn syrup around 1980, around then. And guess what? That's not the sole reason, but the industry changed, portion size changed, snacking became a much bigger thing. I looked it up. I remember it, but I looked it up because I wanted to make sure. Cup holders in your vehicle didn't used to be that way. The first assembly line stock car, that had a built-in cup holder that was, not specially made. The Aerovan, 1984. Prior to that, you did not, if you drank in the car sodas, you had it between your legs. That's a disincentive. People didn't do it as much in those days. And then they started to do it, and they created a demand, and the demand was met. And that's what you'd expect from a capitalist society. So you cut out the bad carbs because they spike your insulin. And insulin traps your fat. And it'll never come out, never be used if insulin is there doing its job, which is a good thing, except because of the imbalance. The other thing I wanted to say, and this is going to be a challenge. We know that sugar spikes your insulin because you can measure blood sugar, and we know that sugar spikes insulin. It's a very clear relationship there. Something else spikes your insulin, and that is, there's a dog. Howdy.
How's it going?
Coming along. Slouchy dog looking for the hunt. Something else spikes your insulin, and that's protein. A gram of sugar is 4 calories, and a gram of protein is 4 calories. That's a 1-to-1. A gram of fat is 9 calories. Coconut and alcohol are 7 calories. So there's easy numbers. But protein spikes your insulin. We know that sugar does, because you can just, it's the whole diabetic thing. Everybody knows this. And it's easy to measure because blood sugar is easy to measure. You got the device. You're not measuring insulin. You know it's elevated, but you're not measuring it. You're measuring the blood sugar and presuming that the insulin is high, and it's going to be. And that brings us to what diabetes is, and the type 1 and all the other types they have now, and I won't go into that. But the point that I'm coming to now is protein spikes your insulin too. On a pretty much 1-to-1 ratio with sugar. It's not as toxic because high blood sugar is toxic, but high amino acid content is not not toxic. There's a whole thing that I'm looking into about that, but I'll say right now, certainly not as destructive as high blood sugar. But we're not talking about that. We're talking about insulin, which keeps you fat. So the protein drink that you're drinking, because it's not sugar, it's protein, it's still spiking your insulin, which is a kick in the head, because here you think that protein drink is going to be so good for you. Well, maybe it is good for you. It doesn't raise your blood sugar, but in terms of your insulin, all you've done is put these calories into your bloodstream. First, did you need those calories? Second, look at what those calories do to the trap that your fat is in. It seems complicated, and it's very simple. Eat real food. Eat nutritious food. Trying to be smarter than you are, and I mean me and you and everybody. We all think we're smarter than we are, and we're going to game the system. We're going to body hack. We're going to hack the system. Yeah, maybe. They do work, but what is not working is I've seen it for years and years and years. People, year after year, they're running and they look exactly the same. If I exercise, if I'm on a training program, it's not that I want to look different, I want to perform differently, but the look is probably the same. I've looked the same since I was a teenager. I'm, obviously older and aging, but my body fat percentage, my muscle content, my silhouette, it's the same as it has always been. That's not me being amazing. That's me having a good lifestyle, and it's supporting good behavior, good outcome. If I want a better outcome, I'm just going to have to ramp things up or train in a different way. I exercise on a daily basis, but it's Metcon, it's 20 minutes or 30 minutes, it's a CrossFit kind of functional fitness stuff. If I want to gain muscle for some reason, or if I want to gain strength for a better reason, then I'd have to train. I don't consider exercising to be training, because exercise has a goal, and I'm sorry, I got that back wrong. Training has a goal. Exercise is just a kind of a thing that you're doing because you're doing it. The way dogs exercise. Are they training? No, dogs don't train. You train the dog. Dogs are just doing what they do, like kids running around. Are they training? No, they're having fun. They're playing. We call it exercise, but there's no purpose to it except that it's instinctive. All right. So what I've been talking about is you want to lose fat. You've got two things to do. You've got to exercise sensibly. Because it lowers your insulin levels. So the longer you go after you eat before spiking your insulin again with something bad, the more you're going to be burning fat, using fat. So that's the exercise component. By all means exercise, but exercise for the fitness goal. And the other thing to lose the fat is, look, don't be supplementing things that spike your insulin. I talk a lot about insulin. As I have said quite clearly, that is the reason, just about everybody. If you get a tumor on your pancreas so that it's constantly putting out insulin, just in an unnatural state, you're going to be fat. Doesn't matter what you eat. You will be fat, and you will starve to death, and you'll be fat. I will say it. I think it's Zucker rats. It's been quite some time since I've looked at it. I used to talk about this a fair bit, but things fade. It's a kind of a lab rat that has genetically high insulin levels. And being scientists, what they do is they experiment with these rats. You can starve these rats to death. Not kind, but you can do that. And they will die, they'll starve to death fat. The fat that was in their body is not available, it couldn't come out. So they can't use the fat, so they use muscle. And they burn skeletal muscle, they burn organ muscle around, and the last muscle to go is the heart. And when you starve, you get enough energy out of your heart, you die of starvation. That's ugly. But what it says is that it's an example of how insulin is the cause. So you don't want to be drinking your calories, the sugar in your coffee. Okay, once, all right, fine. It's not a lot of calories. It's going to raise your insulin. It's counterproductive, but you have to have your coffee with sugar in it. All right, well, then you do. You don't have to be perfect, but you have to be better than, not you necessarily, but you have to be better. So that's a lot. But the whole point was using the correct tool. You've got that stubborn fat, you just can't get rid of it. Exercise is not going to do it. Supplements, special products are not going to do it. Lifestyle is going to do it. And that's all I'll say for now.